Hello, this is Dr. Steele. Today's question asks if I can analyze and clarify why diabetes is what diabetes is doing to our bodies. And as a reminder, I'm not diagnosed or treat anybody. This video is only to discuss medical topics like this. So the way I can describe it, and we're going to go to the slides and explain it briefly. I do believe that this discussion is not for medical providers. It's more for you, the people that need to understand why it's so important to do something before it becomes a real issue. Prevention is better than treatment. So I do want to emphasize that in some cases, people's body doesn't give them the symptoms, the warning signs that they wait too long to get treated because, first of all, they haven't been tested. And second of all, they don't feel the typical symptoms of diabetes, such as, increased urination, increased hunger, increased fatigue, or increased thirst. So they don't get the typical symptoms. So I want to just briefly describe what happens if you don't get treated. So you know that everything that we eat, everything that we consume needs to go from your mouth, your esophagus, your stomach, and then in your small intestine, all the way down. All that, those nutrients are being digested. They're being broken down into little pieces. So, sometimes we start listening to medical terms and we get confused. So just to simplify, sugar, when it gets broken down, it turns into something called glucose. It's just little particles like John, the name John, and then you call the little boy Johnny, kind of like that. Also, proteins that turn into amino acids, as you know, and fats that turn to fatty acids and cholesterol. So all those little particles, they get absorbed in your gut. And looking at this slide, before this one, this will be the end result that we want to prevent when you have stuff building up inside your vessels. So these nutrients, they go into your body. It just humor me for a minute. The purple is the glucose and the red is the rest of it. Proteins, amino acids, fats, fatty acids. All that stuff needs to be absorbed. And as you know, it needs to go through your venous system. It passes through your liver. And remember, the liver, the spleen, and the kidneys, they're filtering your blood in different ways and they produce different stuff. But going back, so all this stuff is absorbed and it needs to be distributed across your body. Unfortunately, the system of metabolizing or picking up or absorbing all those nutrients into other cells, the mini-me's, the little ones that we have that we need to feed, is not working as good. It's not working perfectly. So slowly but surely, this stuff starts building up in your vessels, like the slide I'm showing you here. Just think about this. This is a simile or a metaphor. It's kind of like a simile more than a metaphor. Think about, how can I explain it? A river. That river, instead of blood, it has blood. I misspoke. Instead of water, it has honey. And you know that river, that if you have honey instead of water, going through that river, the honey is sticky. The water is not sticky. So slowly but surely, it's going to stick around the edges of that river. It's going to stagnate the flow. In other words, slow down the flow, and then it's going to block the flow. But the same thing is happening inside your vessels. And as you can see in this illustration, you don't want that to happen. And of course, this doesn't happen one day to the next. It happens through, weeks, months, and years of having uncontrolled diabetes. And of course, diabetes, most of us think it's just a sugar problem. No, it's an everything problem. All the nutrients are not being metabolized or picked up. The amino acids, the fatty acids, and of course, the sugars or the glucose is not being picked up. So what we want to understand is that if this continues, we can now understand why our organs get affected. If the blood flow is not flowing, and the red cells that carry oxygen is not going, the red cells going to where they need to go, then we're going to have something called, in medical terms, ischemia, where you have the buildup of the honey material or the fatty material, or without getting too much into biochemistry. And that buildup is going to start making the vessels, narrow, and at the end, it's gonna things downstream or things that are being fed by that blood vessels, they're gonna start dying, as you know. And of course, now we can understand why we make a big deal, why people get heart attacks, because those vessels are being occluded. And of course, you have the brain attacks, which is also called a stroke. We also have, patients came up to me, Dr. Steele, how come they want to amputate my toe? Because there's more blood going to that toe. That's the challenge. So we want to prevent that from happening. And like I said before, sometimes we don't feel anything. And some people don't feel anything. By the time they get those complications, it's already too late for them. So we want to, diagnose this in a timely manner, and make friends with your doctor. Just asking questions. If I feel the symptoms and I didn't feel it before, and I have strong family history, then we need to be more proactive. Now, we also see in the slide that we have kidney dysfunction. Again, has to do with those vessels being, obstructed. We also think about the eye, same idea. Those vessels are getting obstructed. The lower extremities, the nerves, all those complications can be, at least delayed, because I do believe that we're not eternal. So we're here to delay issues before they come up. We can only delay us going to the next life. So our job is to work diligently to do that. And I heard this, and I'm not too religious, but if I were, love thy neighbor as thyself. But first, you need to love yourself. Well, so these are my thoughts about diabetes and complications. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comments below. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, if you find my analysis of this topic to be interesting, thanks for watching.